What's going on, guys? I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Ty, and today in this video, we're going to be reviewing the Dune 2 popcorn bucket. Actually, guys, listen, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at my schedule here. There's been some type of scheduling conflict issue. That video is going to be coming out next week. In this video, according to my schedule, we're going to be ranking all 4 Planet of the Apes movies. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I know that there's more than 4 Planet of the Apes films, but I'm just going to be talking about the movie that just came out and the trilogy from, the 2010s, Dawn, Rise, and War, and of course, like I already mentioned, Kingdom. So let's get into ranking these. I don't want to waste another second. If you do enjoy this video, please consider dropping a like, and also, if you want to subscribe to stick around, that would mean the world to me. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I don't want to waste another second of your time. Let's get into this ranking. The most important thing to me is hearing what your guys' ranking of these 4 movies are. Drop them in the comments down below. Let me hear them. Now, just to be clear, I do like all 4 of these films, but unfortunately, one of these movies just has to be in last place. I do like this franchise overall, but the movie that's going to be coming in last is unfortunately going to be the brand new film that we just got, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I feel like there was a foundation here that I really liked with this movie. It's just that nothing great was built upon it. And what do I mean by that? First of all, one of my major issues with this film, just generally, is the direction. I just don't like the way that this story went, which is an issue that I actually have with another Planet of the Apes film, but we'll get to that in a second. And I just feel like, first of all, in the middle of this movie, right, there's this 1-hour gap where it just is super slow. It's like this dragging journey where there's a lot of interesting lore laid out, but unfortunately, it's just slow as hell. And honestly, I was sitting there in the theater like, man, can we just move on? On top of that, I feel like the first 20 minutes, super great. I really loved it. Our main character, he's okay. I thought he was moderately interesting. But as the movie goes on and on and on, I feel like we start to know less about him and he becomes less interesting than he was towards the beginning of the film. And on top of that, that final hour or so, I don't know. I just don't like the direction that this film went in. And it's not like, oh, you guys didn't do what I wanted, so that means I don't like the movie. No, I just don't like how we're kind of redoing, in a way, what we did in the first trilogy with this new trilogy that we're starting here. How, apes and humans can never get along. And I get it. That's the whole major conflict over this entire franchise. But it just feels like a rehash in this film directly. And I was just rolling my eyes a little bit by the time we got to the end. The new character, May, the human character, I honestly found a little bit annoying. I wish we either spent a lot of time with her or just a little bit of time with her. But it feels like we're meandering in this middle ground where I'm trying to figure out if you want her to be a main character or more of a side character. It's just a weird story overall. Don't get me wrong, the visuals are great. I really enjoyed some of the set pieces. Proxima Caesar's a fine villain, but again, the direction overall of this film just really bothered me, and something about this story just didn't click and sit right with me for where I really want to see this franchise going. I could see the sequel being better, honestly, pretty easily from what they set up, but unfortunately, this one just didn't really hit for me. Coming in 3rd place, honestly, this might be a hot take, and people might want to crucify me for this, is going to be War for the Planet of the Apes. The reason being, I feel like this movie has the same issues that Kingdom does, the movie that just came out, in that I just don't like the direction it went in. I think a lot of people overrate the Woody Harrelson villain guy. There's a part in the movie towards maybe the end of the 2nd act where he's just exposition dumping to Caesar about his motivations and what's going on. And I feel like that doesn't really make you a great villain just because you're directly telling the main character, what you're doing and your motivations, whatever. From there, again, the direction of this film, I just don't really like. It feels very small in scale. We're just at this one prison basically, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel like there's that much going on. I feel like the reason that I like this movie more than Kingdom is because even though it does feel like they're both in this prison setting and they're kind of this, I don't want to say the same movie, but again, I have the same issues with both of these films when it comes to direction. At least War has these established characters that we already love, whether it's Caesar, Maurice, and everyone else, there's other side characters that I really enjoy. On top of that, I don't really like a bad ape. I know that he's the comic relief guy or whatever. I think he's kind of annoying, especially because this movie is supposed to be super serious. The one thing I've got to say though is that, again, I really do like this movie. I want to make this clear. There are some awesome action sequences in here. I love the intro where Woody Harrelson's character kills Caesar's, wife and kid or whatever, his family. Sick. I mean, that makes it as personal as you could possibly make it. Then from there, how we see a bunch of just absolutely gorgeous shots. And in a way, I feel like this movie is so similar to Kingdom because there's also a girl in here who's following our apes, and that's literally what they just did in Kingdom 2. It's a little bit weird, but yeah, this movie's shot beautifully. Matt Reeves is such a genius. Again, I really do like this movie. I know it seems like I'm dogging on it a little bit, but it's more of just like tough love. I want to talk about why this movie's at third rather than second or first. But yeah, War's gonna be at third. Really good movie. I just don't love everything that it went for and just the direction overall. But regardless, it's a really enjoyable film. I will watch it anytime. I love sci-fi films. I'll watch any of them. Our runner-up here in second place, which unfortunately is going to spoil the movie that I have in first place, is gonna be Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I feel like out of all these movies, this one kind of feels the most like outdated, but regardless, it is a great science fiction film. The one thing that really stands out to me about this movie is that I feel like from the start of the film to the end of the film, the scale gets exponentially larger and larger and larger. We're starting off with Caesar, you know, just being a baby. He's with James Franco's character. Then by the end of the movie, we're pretty much starting like the War of the Planet of the Apes, where they're breaking loose, they're being set free, and it's paced so well. On top of that, like I already alluded to, I love the relationship between James Franco's character and Caesar, what he's able to learn from him and almost what they're able to learn from each other. The one thing that's also set up very nicely in this film is Koba's, like, you know, introduction, how he was raised differently than Caesar. Caesar was raised by James Franco's character in a positive light, you know, he was helping him, feeding him, whatever. Koba was raised by humans and he was tortured, he was beat up. I mean, he was raised poorly. All the sequences where Draco from Harry Potter, you know, Caesar's like, no to him. Awesome scene. I feel like Tom Felton isn't in any other movies except this one practically. But yeah, like I said, things get just crazier and crazier and crazier as the movie goes on. And again, it's not trying to be the most insane movie in the world, but I think that it lays a beautiful foundation for this trilogy as a whole, and just overall builds out the world. We kind of understand what's going on here, and by the end, we're just dying to see the sequel. And speaking of the sequel, coming in first place is going to be no other than the masterpiece that is Matt Reeves' Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I truly believe that this is one of the greatest sci-fi movies of this century so far. The way that this movie was able to build off of Rise of the Planet of the Apes in a way that feels appropriate, because this is the thing. Matt Reeves obviously came in to direct this film, but he didn't direct the first. But I would argue that I almost like that Matt Reeves didn't direct the first movie, because I feel like that movie's supposed to feel a little bit more just normal and calm in a way, whereas this movie's supposed to be a little bit darker, because now the apes have essentially taken over, or at least they're on even playing field with the humans. So I do like that tone switch to a darker setting. The opening shot of just Caesar's eyes and it just backs out, and the whole opening sequence, mind-blowing. One of the greatest of all time. I'm not even just talking about in science fiction, not even just this century. I'm talking about ever. It's phenomenal. I love Gary Oldman's character in here. He's definitely one of my favorite actors, so it's cool to see him in this franchise. And I do like that the way that the story kind of plays out, where we have the monkeys kind of like on the mountain, we have the humans in the city, and it's almost like this turf war, but they kind of like need each other's help, or at least the humans need the monkeys' help to kind of get like the electricity started, I believe, or something, from what I remember. This film is just awesome. Koba is one of the all-time great villains. I love the way that the conflict actually gets started when he shoots Caesar, but they think it's the humans. Caesar ends up surviving. God, it's so cool. And when Caesar, right at the very end, he's fighting Koba, then he lets him go and he's like, "You're not an ape." Wonderful. I love Caesar's messaging. I feel like this is the movie that really elevates him to being this all-time awesome science fiction character. But yeah, guys, that's gonna just about do it for this ranking. If you guys have your ranking, let me know down in the comments how you'd rank these 4 films. If you hated mine, let me know. If you loved mine, let me know. I always love to hear everybody's opinions, whether they're positive or negative. But listen, regardless, thank you guys for watching this video. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.